In this video, we're going to talk about how to create a truth table for negation, disjunction, and conjunction. So we'll start with negation, and this is where we have a statement P, and we're going to negate that statement. So this means not P. When I make my truth table, I have a column for P, and for that column, the truth values are true and false. So when I make my column for not P, the truth values will just be the opposite, false and then true. So for this one, I want to keep in mind that the truth values are always going to be the opposite of what they were in the original statement, whatever that may be. Now we look at disjunction and conjunction. For both of these, we have two variables. So we're going to have more rows to our truth table. So with disjunction, we have P or Q. And so I'm going to put P and Q for the first two row headings, and then, or column headings. And then for P, my truth values could be true or false. And so because there's four possibilities for pairing, I'm going to make this true, true, false, false. And then Q is true, false, true, false. And this is how we approach each truth table with two variables. So it's always two trues and two falses for P, and then Q will alternate. So when I am finding the truth value for P or Q, this is a statement that will be true if either of the parts of it are true at all. So if I say, logic is a subject in math, or the sky is red. So the sky is red is false. Logic is a math subject. So we have one part that's true, one part that's false. That means that the overall statement is true because some part of it is true. So as long as there's a true, then my answer is true. And the only way to get false is for both parts to be false. So what I'm going to make a note of here, false or false is false. All else turns out true. So every other possible pairing turns out true. Then with conjunction, here we have P and Q. And my column headings are P and Q. And again, true, true, false, false, true, false, true, false. And for P and Q, both parts have to be true in order for the overall statement to be true. So the only way we get true is with true and true. Everything else is false. So true and true equals true. All else is false. So now let's look at how we can kind of combine these together and make a truth table. Okay, so now I have my statement that I want to make a truth table for, and that is not P or Q and not R. So now I have three variables. I need 8 rows, and I've found all the possible pairings. So I start with P, where half of them are true, half of them are false. And then I take half of that number. So I had 4 trues and 4 falses for P. Half of that is 2. So 2 trues, 2 falses for Q. And then half of 2 is 1. So then we're alternating true, false for R. So now I'm ready to start filling in the other parts of my truth table. So I'm going to start with not P, and so I'm going to put a not P here. I could have started with not R, so there are different ways you can approach this. It's very much like order of operations. So I just like to negate each of my variables first. So I'm going to do a not P and not R, and the order of the columns is not important there. So for not P, I just want to do the opposite of all the P values. So we have false, 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 and then true, 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 true. So if I label these, this is just something that I do. If I label my columns 1, 2, 3, then this column is the negation of column 1. And so this is going to be column 4 here. So one thing that I suggest to my students is to cover up the columns that you're not using with a pencil. And that way you're not distracted by the truth values, because I really don't want to look at the Q and R columns at all when I'm making the not P column. And now I want to negate R, so this is the negation of column 3, and this column is going to be column 5. So this is, again, labeling these is not something you have to do. It's just a suggestion to keep things understandable. And we are negating again, so I'm just going to do the opposite. Oops. False, and then true, false, true, false, true. And I'm finding that I'm having trouble ignoring the not P column. So again, if you can cover that up, it is very helpful. So now, what is the next column that I'm going to make? Well, that's going to be this Q and not R, because that's within parentheses, and just like order of operations, we're going to work within parentheses first. So I'm going to do Q and not R. Q is from column 2, not R is from column 5. So I'm just looking at columns 2 and 5. And because it's and, I know that true and true equals true, all else is false. So I will actually go through and just look for 2 trues. I've got that in row 2. And let's see, in this row 6, and then the rest of the truth values have to be false. So I've got that column, and this is column 6. And finally, we have the whole thing. So we have not P or Q and not R. So not P came from column 4, and we're doing or, and Q and not R came from the previous column, column 6. And this is an or statement, so we know that false or false is false, all else is true. So I'm looking for 2 falses, and I'm looking at columns 4 and 6. So the first one is false, and Then we have a true. And then we have 2 falses. And then everything else in column 4, we start with true. So the rest of them are going to have to be true. And I don't really even need to look at column 6. And so this is my final answer. So that's how you work with truth tables for those particular types of statements.